What image comes into your mind when speaking of a city? New York, Tokyo, London. Have you ever been to this city before? No matter yes or not. Similar images of the particular landmarks shot from similar angle come to our mind. Even you have been to this city, you may never have the chance to see from this angle. And what about the people living there? Words and images build up our knowledge about these cities. One can hardly tell whether the perception comes from real experience or audiovisual materials. The leading role in this video essay is the charming Oriental city Hong Kong and people living there. To begin with, let's ask the two questions again. First, what image comes into your mind when speaking of Hong Kong? The night view of Victoria Harbour with skyscrapers, or congested street with glittering neon signs? Then, what about the people living in Hong Kong? At the beginning, a brief looking back to Hong Kong's history. Hong Kong, known as the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, is a district of the People's Republic of China. Dating back to the First Opium War, the city was taken by Britain as a colony and was once occupied by Japan in World War II. In the years leading up to its handover to mainland China, Hong Kong experienced booming economic development and became a world economic powerhouse. Due to this unique history, the analysis of Hong Kong film is inevitably related to the city's colonial background and multicultural environment. With a large number of people moving in and out all the time, people living in Hong Kong are regarded as rootless migrants or nomads who lack cultural identification. This video essay is going to analyze 3 films to build up the image of people living in Hong Kong. These so-called migrants or nomads constructed in films, and how urban space helps to deepen the impression. Most of the characters, even actors and filmmakers, were originally from mainland China and immigrated to Hong Kong in different eras. They either grew up as Hong Kong people or struggled to become one. The representation of these people serves to illustrate the identity of Hong Kong people. York in Wong Kar-wai's Days of Being Wild can be seen as a representative of the stereotype who suffers from uprootedness and no sense of belonging. He is searching for his true mother throughout the film. York refers to himself as a kind of bird with no legs, who can only land once in its whole life. That's the moment it dies. The scene of him dancing alone in front of the mirror is an impressive one. Precisely reveals what people's spirit world was like in 1960s Hong Kong. They can't escape from the feeling of floating, so they indulge themselves in obsessive reveries and always look for something, some space. In the end, when York was dying, he says, "That kind of bird never actually flew because it was dead from the very beginning." In other words, the spirit land of Hong Kong people probably does not exist. The gloomy and confined space further creates the atmosphere for this alienation. Compared to this are the bright moving shot of Philippines' rainforest view at the start and the end of the film. That's where York's mother lives and the place he is searching for. Though these vast indoor scenes in close-up shots became director Wong Kar-wai's personal style later, the impact space as well as York's expression present the city of Hong Kong as a place of nostalgic escapism, and in it is the feeling of no belonging and people always on the way to look for something. Hong Kong was just a space of transit. The actress who played as York's first mother says so. In Wong Kar-wai's Days of Being Wild and in the Mood for Love, she acted as a Shanghai woman living in Hong Kong, who speaks Shanghainese and wears cheongsam, while her mahjong partners are in pajamas. In real life, she did so as well. The actress Rebecca Pan said that she refused to learn Cantonese when she just moved to Hong Kong from Shanghai, because she thought she would leave soon. These Shanghai symbols are director Wong Kar-wai's childhood's normal part. What he wants to show is what was Hong Kong like in his memory, with his urban sensibility nurtured by the immigrant growing up experience. However, both York and Hong Kong are far more than a stereotype. York's death symbolizes the end of indulgence in nostalgic mood. Following is the era of 1970s. In the 1970s, Hong Kong gradually ascended to one of the world's richest and most developed areas, winning the title Asian Tiger. Emerging with the economy is the sense of nativeness. A Hong Kong intellectual said, "The change starts from our generation. We don't feel that we depend on any nation for a living. We never think of Hong Kong as colonial city bitterly. We're just growing up normally and treating Hong Kong as a city that belongs to us." A sense of belonging and pride has Hong Kong people raised, and it was used to confront the stereotype identity as the rootless nomad. They call Hong Kong my city. The second film is Comrades, Almost a Love Story, released in 1996. Unlike Rebecca Pan, who moved to Hong Kong in earlier days, kept their Shanghai-style living habits and had a sense of superiority. In the 1980s, people from mainland struggled to become Hong Kong people, the rich and the successful Hong Kong people. At that time, intentional discrimination against the mainland people became a normal phenomenon, which was also another form of race in the sense of nativeness. Seemingly about the story of two people from the mainland, the film is actually talking about Hong Kong people themselves, from mainland order to reflect the self. When local, or my city, is a rather elusive subject, it is something that has to be sought elsewhere. Mainland people moved to Hong Kong like main characters Li Xiaojun and Li Qiao are the outsiders seen from other cultures' social vantage point that ironically reflects the position of the South. Their fighting experience is the trajectory of Hong Kong people, from humble origins to prosperity to inevitable decline. And it's the history of Hong Kong as a city, from a fishing village to a metropolis. Moving city street views construct its fighting spirit. The film features many scenes of a group of people moving about, and main characters are part of them. They are always on the way to next work. They become friends, they break up, all on the street, lit by neon signs. As long as you work hard in Hong Kong, you can be whatever you want. This is the Hong Kong spirit, nurtured in Hong Kong's unique history and culture. Rapid growth has created a large gap between the rich new generation and the poorer old one. However, the film chooses to shoot the rather old and shabby side of the city, but also very lively and not in a somber tone, tells the Hong Kong story at the grassroots level. In this confrontation of identities, the diasporic sense of finding another place still exists, especially during pre-1997 period. Hong Kong people was trapped in confusion again and lost confidence in my city. In the end of the film, these nomads start migrating again to New York, to another place. Similarly, the director Chen He-sung admitted that his experience of migration has weakened the sense of home as relating to a place. In his film are those migrants looking for identification, and the rather long time span presents changing identity in Hong Kong. The third film is A Simple Life, directed by An Hui, released in 2012. The story centers around Master Roger and the maid Sister Tao, who he treats more like an auntie. This is a special relationship you can only see in Hong Kong. as the ramification of the immigrant trend earlier. Sister Tao moved to Hong Kong with Roger's family as a maid and served his family over 60 years, even till the family immigrated to overseas again, and she stayed in Hong Kong. The film depicts a minority group, but presented as the established, widely recognized Hong Kong culture. The main character is an old, lonely woman with no husband, no child, whereas the film is not in a grief mood. Some scholars regard people like Sister Tao as the nomad in the sense of remarking a given space that for whatever reason cannot leave. However, on the other hand, Sister Tao is like every Hong Kong people, hardworking and independent. The city space integrates into everyday life: market, restaurant, park, repeatedly observing community life in chaotic visual space. Statistics show that overnighting scenes, taking up to 12% of the film, shoot people eating, which highly summarizes that a large part of Hong Kong culture is about eating, or in other words, living. Language, culture, history, nationality, these elements are all dissolved in the city Hong Kong. Migrant, nomad, however you depict Hong Kong people. Under the stereotype, the main identity is a fighter against life. The first priority is living. British writer Richard Hawes described Hong Kong as a borrowed place on borrowed time. For a long time, Hong Kong people indulged in the cultural status of lack of history, which is revealed in many films. However, Hong Kong identity is the result not only of its old post-colonist culture and tradition, but also the struggling trajectory against these during the development. Immigrant behavior may never stop in the city, neither is living. According to an artist, in one way or another, we are all or will be immigrants. Maybe there's a York living in everyone's heart.